So let's talk about WrestleMania 21. The first time WrestleMania went Hollywood. In the marketing that is. This one holds a special place in my heart because it's the first WrestleMania I remember watching as a kid. The card was stacked from top to bottom and most of the matches delivered in some way. Today, let's look at the good, the bad, and legendary moments from the event and why this WrestleMania is so memorable. You talking to me? You talking to me?
You talking to me?
One of the best parts of WrestleMania 21 were the movie parodies. You got Cena and JBL delivering an intense performance of the courtroom scene from A Few Good Men. You got Eddie Guerrero and Booker T doing their best John Travolta and Samuel Jackson impression in Pulp Fiction. Or even Triple H as William Wallace in Braveheart. Sure was a missed chance to do it again with a certain Scottish psychopath, huh? And of course, my favorite was literally everyone screwing up the famous line in Taxi Driver.
You talking to me?
It was really cool seeing these larger-than-life characters exercise their acting chops in scenes from popular films, and I was pumped that they brought it back for WrestleMania 39. For the opening bout, best friends and then World Tag Team Champions Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio clashed in a singles competition to prove who the better man is. Now, it's quite rare seeing tag team partners go against each other, much less in a pay-per-view, but the tag division was quite weak during this time, so it was a welcome change. Side note though, anyone else miss Rey's old theme song? To this day, I still prefer that over any version of his Booyaka one. This was a fast-paced match that we'd come to expect from two legendary luchadors. My favorite part was when Rey did a springboard West Coast and Eddie countered it into a powerbomb which is smooth as butter. These men know each other so well that there's no feeling out process needed. They played off the face versus face dynamic really well here, with Eddie becoming more and more frustrated after every near fall as he realizes that Rey might be the better man. A slow burn into his descent to the darkness. This was an underrated match that isn't talked about too much because it probably felt a bit too short and it never really kicked into a second gear. On this night, Randy Orton decided to go one-on-one with none other than The Undertaker. Orton's babyface run has been, to put it nicely, a flop, and soon after he was back to his legend killer ways, so he set his sight on ending Taker's legendary streak. It wasn't the best match of the night, more on that later, nor is it the best one of their lengthy rivalry, but man, I'd be lying if I said this isn't a damn good match. A classic tale of a brash, young, and on-the-rise superstar looking to prove something by beating a hardened veteran. The match had a lot of back and forth with each man looking to get the upper hand whatever means necessary. The best parts came after that lame-ass ref bump and an assist from Orton's dad. Taker would attempt a chokeslam on Randy, only for Randy to deliver the sickest RKO counter I've seen to that point. Taker would one-up this with an even cooler counter, when Orton made the rookie mistake of doing a move thief like he was playing 2K. The dead man would use all his weight to reverse it with a tombstone pile driver of his own to end the match. The next one I want to talk about is the segment between Stone Cold Steve Austin, Rowdy Roddy Piper, and Carlito. This was a real treat to watch, with Piper slapping Austin, then Austin slapping Piper back. Hot Rod getting visibly annoyed with the "what" chants from the crowd.
Well, if you shut up and listen, I tell you.
And Carlito getting stunned for laughs by Austin, as well as Piper, who flopped like he got electrocuted for real. This was just a fun moment to be had by all. I'd be remiss if I also didn't talk about the Hall of Fame class of 2005, which is perhaps one of the best, if not the best Hall of Fame class to date. You have iconic villains in Mr. Wonderful, Nikolai Volkov, and the Iron Sheik. You got Cowboy Bob Orton, who was just involved earlier in his son Randy's match against The Undertaker, Jimmy Hart, who is a legendary manager, Roddy Piper, who is one of the most important wrestlers in the 80s and a trailblazer in his own right, and of course, the immortal one, Hulk Hogan. Undoubtedly the biggest name in wrestling during the 80s and one of the Mount Rushmores of wrestling. Unfortunately, the Women's Championship match had to be included on this, simply because of how forgettable it is. Christy Hemme and Trish Stratus had a decent showing for the time they were given, but it suffers from a lack of any good build. It's a bathroom break match that feels like it could have happened in a random episode of Raw, and considering what we got the year after this, it's hard to say otherwise. I'm also putting the Hulk Hogan segment here because this felt like a similar but lesser version of the one we saw with Steve Austin later on. So this didn't really need to happen and they could have just added Hogan to that. The last one is Big Show versus Akebono in a sumo wrestling match. Okay, let's be real here for a second. Did anyone really want to see Big Show, in a thong, compete in a sumo wrestling match of all things? Feels like Vince was high as fuck when he thought about this. As a kid, I was so confused why Big Show was sumo wrestling some random dude. No offense, I know he's a legend in the sport. And to this day, it still confuses me why they couldn't have had an actual celebrity match. You know, because we're in freaking Hollywood. The quality of the match, if you can call it that, is pretty mediocre as well, since no one in the world expected Big Show to win against a legit pro. In an interview with Fox News, Big Show himself called this his most embarrassing moment in wrestling. Guess the only positive thing on this was that it was over quickly. You know what they say, you never forget your first. The granddaddy of all Money in the Bank ladder matches happened on this night, and it's perhaps still the greatest one WWE has ever produced to date. This is what you call a beautiful car crash. Bodies flying everywhere, people fighting on top, and falling off the ladder. We see Edge and Christian reuniting at one point to sandwich Kane between two ladders. You also got Benoit, who did a nasty looking diving headbutt on top of a ladder, which was a cool visual at the time, but also felt quite unsettling knowing what we know now. And of course, my MVP of this match, Shelton Benjamin. This man was flying everywhere and on everyone like he had actual springs on his legs. The highlight of the show came when Benjamin ran up to a ladder that was leaning against another ladder and gave a clothesline to Jericho who was on the top. Boy, it popped so hard when I saw this. Shelton's athleticism was unmatched during this time. Definitely underrated. The match ended with Edge, who disappeared for a good amount of time in this match. Out of nowhere, just whacked Benoit's arm with a chair and grabbed the briefcase, marking the beginning of his main event push as the ultimate opportunist. On hindsight, I know Edge winning was the right choice, but part of me wishes Jericho won at least one of them things since it was his brainchild in the first place. Smack bang in the middle of the card is the unopposed best match of the night. A 5-star classic between two legends in Kurt Angle and Shawn Michaels. A dream match to many. This one came to be due to an altercation they had during the Royal Rumble that year. These men wrestled a perfect match, beginning with HBK slapping Angle for good measures and then Kurt mat wrestling the crap out of Michaels. We get some more back and forth technical wrestling goodness when both men clothesline each other out of the ropes and Angle drove Michaels onto the ring post with a sick Angle slam. The match really picked up the second time they went outside though. Angle tries to German suplex Shawn on the outside floor, but Shawn went low to save himself and hit a springboard dive to Angle in the announce table, which made for an awesome sequence. During the match's peak moments, Kurt would counter Shawn's sweet chin music into an Angle lock, but HBK just won't give up. Angle, like a freaking hyena, jumps up and does an Angle slam off the top. Everyone thought that was it, but no. Shawn Michaels, with the will to survive, kicks out at the very last second and the crowd goes unglued. Angle was losing his shit at this point, shouting, Then out of nowhere, Shawn delivers a sweet chin music but was too exhausted at this point that it takes a few seconds too long to go for the pin. The match would finally reach a crescendo when Kurt suddenly rises up and picks HBK's leg with the Angle lock. He holds it for an excruciating amount of time. Michaels, with all his pride, tries to hold on for as long as he could, but even he has limits, so he eventually taps out. What a banger of a match! Kurt Angle beats HBK in what is considered to be one of the greatest WrestleMania matches of all time. A well-deserved win for Sexy Kurt. If you enjoyed the content, please give it a like and subscribe. It would really help me out. And finally, the rise of the franchise. If WrestleMania 21 is to be remembered for one thing and one thing only, is that this is the crowning moment for both Drax and the Peacemaker. This is the point where I think the Ruthless Aggression era finally reaches peak, as the two men who will carry the company for years to come have arrived. Of course, we have to give credit where it's due to both JBL and Triple H, as they were the perfect foils for both Cena and Batista in some way, their characters playing into the storyline perfectly. On one corner, you have a rich capitalist asshole versus a street thug beloved by the people. On the other, a student finally turning on his manipulative master after months of pent-up frustration and anger. Now I'll be honest, the matches themselves weren't 5-star classics, but both of them had a big fight feel. Kinda like an end-of-level boss fight. John Cena vs JBL felt too short for what it should have been. It was mostly Cena getting beat up early, then going Super Cena, hitting his 5 moves of doom, and boom, done. It was really the image of John Cena hoisting the WWE Championship in the crowd that really stuck to me when I saw this for the first time. Triple H vs Batista is the better of the two, I would say, since it had more history, more intensity, and of course more blood, as Triple H bled like a stuffed pig at some point. I mean, who can forget the iconic Batista thumbs down segment? The moment Triple H knew he f***ed up. The match itself had some good moments. Batista outpowering Triple H, Ric Flair trying to choke Batista out with his jacket, and Batista swatting Triple H off the top rope. The turn of the match happened when Triple H got sent head first into the steel ring post. This man bled like his life depended on it. At this point, Batista was beating him so bad that Triple H legit looks like he's had enough. But the game had a trick up his sleeve as Flair distracted Batista and Triple H then whacks him with the title. This didn't finish the job though, so in one last move of desperation, he goes for the low blow as Batista was going for his finisher while the ref was down for some reason. Triple H would go for a pedigree, but in an awesome moment, Batista would block it with pure strength and finally deliver a Batista bomb for the win. Batista has finally done it, and as he raises the World Heavyweight title, pyros going off everywhere, we the fans knew and accepted that he is a main eventer. History will remember these matches not for its quality, but for the build, the hype, and most importantly, the moment, because that is what truly made it so memorable. Looking back, it's ironic how it was in Hollywood where John Cena and Batista first became stars. And now years later, they are Hollywood stars. So, WrestleMania 21, love it? Hate it? Don't care about it? Tell me your thoughts in the comments below. Till the next one, peace.